And let's bring in Bill Plunkett. He is the Dodgers beat writer for the Orange County Register. We want to talk some baseball with Bill and the Don Mattingly situation. Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Doing great. Bill, we're reading so much about why Mattingly and the Dodgers parted ways, and it seems very convoluted. In your opinion, why is Mattingly no longer the owner or the manager of the Dodgers?
For me, it's simple math. The last 3 years, they spent over $800 million in salaries, and they won one playoff series. That does not add up. Something had to change. I don't think, those kind of numbers do not lead to an attitude of, hey, let's try this again the same way.
Well, Bill, so are you saying he was in fact pushed? Because the Dodgers are not saying he was pushed.
No, and I do tend to believe the way they're trying to frame it, that, we would have been happy to have him back next year. I think it was just obvious to both sides that, their hearts weren't really in it. I think the Andrew Friedman, Farhan Zaidi, Josh Burns don't think the manager is that important, to be honest with you, and I think they would have been okay with having Don back again next year. I think Don was a little worn out by the constant input, the way the front office wants to run things. But I think he probably would have been okay coming back. But he knew he wasn't their guy, and it would have just been a matter of time. So I think it was one of those arranged marriages that just wasn't going to last.
Bill, this is Woody, and thank you for joining us again. I love your insight and your writing. The situation there, though, seems to be crying out, whether it's right or wrong, for more of an analytical guy. That Friedman and Josh Burns, and we know Josh Burns, who grew up in this organization, are guys that are whatever you want to name the term now instead of Moneyball, because that's kind of passe, but whatever the analytics is that the front runner seems to be Gabe Kapler, the former pinch hitting specialist for the Rockies and a number of other teams, and his only experience as a manager was in the minors one year, and his team was awful. Do you think he's the guy, or do they need to go get a marquee guy like a Bud Black? If Bud Black could be considered.
I think odds are that it's going to be Gabe Kapler. I don't think they really they don't see managerial experience as a requirement. And I think, honestly, in their heart of hearts, they think it would be a detriment. I think they want a blank slate. I think they want to start somebody fresh who's not set in his ways. A guy like Bud Black, as good a manager as he is, has very definite ideas about what the job is and how he would want to do the job. I don't think they want that. I think they want somebody who's, open-minded, understands that it's going to be the word they keep using, a collaboration, that the manager is not, the buck does not stop at his desk anymore. It doesn't work that way. The Dodgers are the Moneyball label, whatever you want to call it, the analytical level revolution in baseball. The Dodgers not only are at the forefront, they want to be at the forefront. They want to be pushing the envelope in those ways. And an old school manager, and old school nowadays means 2005, is not going to fit. That's why I think a guy like Gabe, who is not only open-minded, but he has a missionary zeal about these progressive ideas.
Andrew Friedman. And Andrew Friedman knows him well from their days in Tampa together.
Yeah. Well, and I would just add to what you said, Bill. I thought it was so funny that if you brought back Walt or Tommy, they wouldn't last 6 months in baseball now, given what the new thinking is. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I talked to Tommy before the press conference yesterday, and we were kind of laughing about that. The idea. We asked him, so Tommy, how would you like it if these guys came down to your office and gave you a lineup suggestion and the statistics that show you should do it this way? And I cannot repeat for family viewing or listening what Tommy said he would have. Those days are gone. I mean, you saw how it played out in Anaheim with Mike Scioscia and Jerry Dipoto. That was the way Jerry wanted to run that organization. The new way. Mike wants to do it the old way, where he has final say. And in that case, the power is vested in Mike, and he won that that standoff. In an organization like the Dodgers, the power is in the office. It's in the front office. It's not in the manager now.
Well, that's what's odd about the. I would give you the Cubs. So you got Theo Epstein and his group that are into this new wave of doing baseball the last 10, 12 years. And they go out, though, and get a guy that Andrew Friedman was working with in Tampa.
Joe Madden,
and Joe Madden is about as far away from analytical. I mean, he's
open-minded.
Yeah, but he plays polka music in the locker room, and he goes by the seat of his pants. It's kind of funny that whether or not, Bill, you're a lot closer to the game than I am, whether or not, which is going to work, the former way of doing baseball or the new way of doing baseball. I don't know that it's been proven yet one way or the other.
I think you're right. I mean, I think you got a guy like Bruce Bochy up in San Francisco who's won 3 World Series, and nobody's telling him how to put his lineup together. I mean, there are still places where the old way works, but I think there are fewer and fewer of them. And I don't think it's fair to paint Don Mattingly as intractable and unwilling to learn and all. He was very open to these things, and he listened, and he told us he loved all the information and found it very interesting. But there's a big difference between being interested in something and embracing it and being able to speak that language. And the next Dodgers manager will have to be someone who speaks that language and embraces it.
Yeah, but with that cast of characters, can anybody really win it all? I mean, they've thrown money at it, but yet look at how that money's been used. And despite all the money they've thrown at it, it came down to a couple of pitchers, and one of them's probably going to leave.
Well, yeah, and do you both find it odd that with a payroll of $275 to $285, $100 million more than anybody else in the game, they would bring in somebody who has no managerial experience to handle those egos and that payroll?
Well, the part of it is the plan long term, and they let this slip out a couple times yesterday, they expect to be younger. They're not going to be as expensive. They're not going to have the $300 million payrolls year after year after year. They slowly weeded out some of those guys last winter, the Matt Kemps and stuff like that. And you're going to see more of those kind of moves. And I think they are going to have a lot more guys like Corey Seager, Jock Peterson, Kike Hernandez. Those kind of guys are going to be the core going forward, and not the Carl Crawfords, Andre Gitters, the overpriced veterans. They're trying to shed that skin. And they needed to do that for a couple of years to regain credibility, to be honest, after the McCourt years. And they needed stars to sell themselves to the TV network to get that massive TV contract that they got. Those things are done. That part of the checklist is done. Now they want to become more like, I guess the model is the '90s Braves, where the talent is flowing from within. You go out and get pieces when you need to. I don't think you're going to see, the $300 million payrolls. You're not going to see them out there bidding for every high-priced free agent. That's not how it's going to be going forward.
Bill, last thing. Are they going to try to retain Greinke? And if they don't end up with Greinke, give me the free agent pitcher that they will go after.
I don't think they re-sign him. I think they will try, but I don't think he's leaving 3 years, $71 million on the table, and will easily double that. I don't see the Dodgers, this group, as thinking it's wise to have, say, $60 million a year invested in 2 pitchers at the front of your rotation. And to be honest, they tried to ride Kershaw and Greinke to the World Series 3 years now, and it didn't work out. So why, that model might not be the one that you want to stick with. As far as who they go for, I can't tell you exactly. I think they will be looking for not bargains, but they won't be bidding, just throwing money at David Price if that's what people expect. I think they'll, guys like Jordan Zimmerman. I think Marco Estrada in Toronto is a free agent. Those seem to fit the model more. Mike Leake, I think, is going to be a free agent, and they were hot after him at the trade deadline. So I think a little bit lower profile spread the money around is probably going to be the way they approach it.
I have one other question which has nothing to do with this. There's all the talk about football stadiums out there and what's going to happen there, but is there any discussion whatsoever about doing something with Dodger Stadium, which is now the second oldest stadium in the National League? And see, I love Dodger Stadium, and I think it still works when I come out there in terms of the parking and the way it's been updated over the years. But do you see it being replaced anytime over the next decade? Or
no, I don't think so. The new ownership has invested a few $100 million in those upgrades, and they've done a really good job of it. There is no groundswell to replace it. You hear occasional blips about a downtown stadium to pair with a football stadium, but those things have kind of gone away now that the Inglewood and Carson NFL projects are going on. No, the new ownership has spent money and upgraded it. It really wears its age well. It'd be nice if the press box were a little roomier, but I got a feeling Stan Kasten's probably going to move us onto the roof.
Yeah, I was going to say a right field somewhere.
Yeah.
Bill, do you have
we've had that happen.
Bill, do you have a Twitter account?
I sure do, at Bill Plunkett, OCR.
Easy enough. Bill, thank you very, very much. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Glad to do it, guys.
All right, Bill Plunkett. He covers the Dodgers for the Orange County Register.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.